boxing,
beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
The likely scenario is either Joseph Parker or Caballero, hopefully not both, are going to lose in the ring before they get the opportunity to challenge Usyk or whoever's holding the straps for them to get a title shot. Now, I'm not going to say they made a mistake signing to Frank Warren, but when you look at it, yeah, Frank has got a stable full of Brits. Derek, Moses, Daniel. Fury's coming back, talking about he wants to have a third crack at beating Usyk. You've got David Adilier. You've got Fabio Wardley. How are you going to get prioritised amongst so much heavyweights in the stable, and with most of them being Brits as well? If either Caballero or Parker was signed to top rank the PBC or Matchroom, take Matchroom for instance, Eddie would like to have a number one ranked heavyweight who he could bang the drum for to get a shot at Usyk, and he'd do a good job at it. We know Eddie could talk for England. Parker's not a great self-promoter, and neither is Caballero. And Frank Warren cannot put equal energy into so many heavyweights under one promotional banner. And there's going to be a few more disgruntled Frank Warren heavyweights, because there's just so many of them there. Joe Joyce is there. Forgot about Joe. Filip Hrgovic is another one. He's signed there. You saw the unbeaten Eastern European the other day. Serenko, he looked terrible against Solomon Dakers, another Queensbury heavyweight. And Dakers upset the odds and defeated him. I mean, Serenko is well down the pecking order. Well down. You can't all get superstar treatment. You can't all get the world title shot. But you'd stand more of a chance if you was a promotion where they're prioritizing you. They're putting their attention into you, because they don't have as much heavyweights to accommodate as Frank does.
It's simple mathematics.
If it was the sanctioning body denying Joseph his title shot, Frank would have had a lot to say. But he's not saying nothing because Turkey's already said he wants Moses Atoma to get the crack at Usyk. So Frank's playing ball with Turkey. And obviously Usyk hasn't committed to a name he would like to fight. It's just a couple of weeks post-fight Daniel Dubois too. Joseph Parker has brought a lot of this on himself, subconsciously. I wonder how he felt when Fury piped up and came out of retirement and said he wanted the trilogy with Usyk. He must have felt like telling Tyson to shut the F up before you retired.
Talk me through your relationship with Tyson, because there seems no way you'd step in a ring with him now. It really is a relationship which has evolved and blossomed in recent time.
You know, I've always wanted to fight him. I think he is truly the best in our era, and I always like to test myself. But he treats me like a younger brother. His whole family looks after me. I stayed in his house. I'm using his gym. He's offered to help me with this and that. So I don't think I'll never fight him, you know. I'll let him do his thing and fight everyone else, and I'll do my best to win the other belts if I can.
Now, Andy Lee and others would argue that he's become a better fighter by training in Tyson Fury's camp, but he stayed in his shadows for so long that he's not only sharing training facilities with Fury. Spencer Brown manages both of them. Frank Warren promotes both of them. They're trained by the same guy, Andy Lee. No matter where Joseph goes in his boxing surroundings, he's surrounded by people who either promote, manage or train him and Fury, who position Tyson higher than him. Even Turkey positions him higher. What did Turkey say the other day? Fury will be back in 2026. We've got a rabbit to catch. He's in an ecosystem where those closest to him are not going to seriously challenge Tyson Fury, that Joseph deserves a title shot ahead of him. But if you're the mini Tyson Fury, the big Tyson Fury is going to get all the perks. And Parker's mentality is holding him back almost as much as the opportunities are not presenting themselves. His mentality is holding him back. When Tyson Fury piped up, he wants the third fight with Usyk. He should have said, you've lost both fights. You need to get in line. Joseph Parker is the mandatory contender.
Yeah, it's your turn. No, it's my turn.
Even when he stepped in the ring after Usyk beat Dubois for the second time, it was very gentlemanly. At least Daniel, although people started laughing at Daniel, at least Daniel raised his voice.
Daniel, no.
Usyk, I want my revenge, Usyk.
At least Daniel piped up. In February, Daniel pulled out of a title defense against Parker with a couple of days to go, citing a viral infection. They brought Bacoli in to fight Parker. He knocked off Bacoli. Why didn't they just reschedule the Dubois fight for a later date? Dubois ends up going in a totally different direction and fighting Usyk. Oh, they just had to make that fight because it was for undisputed. Don't make me. Dubois was gifted the belt from Usyk. Stop it. Seems to me they got Joseph Parker out the picture. because somebody didn't want that fight to happen. We know Turkey doesn't want him to fight Usyk. Has Turkey got it in for Joseph Parker? Moses Atuma is not a great self-promoter, but he's young, he's undefeated, as a great highlight reel of knockouts. He's based in London, a very popular territory. He's promoted on Queensberry by the big boy promoter of the UK, Frank Warren. Like I said, he's young. Youth has a lot of intangibles. It's very easy to sell to networks and fans. People don't really want to watch sports and watch old people or past it or preaking all over the place. It is what it is. I'm not saying there isn't a place for it, but youth is the desired demographic. Now, obviously he doesn't have the resume of Parker or Caballero, but there's two debates here. There's what financially works, and there's the spirit of competition. There's a duality there. Parker has to look at it pragmatically. Other than him being a mandatory contender, what other angle can he find that will favour him before the likes of Atuma to get that title shot? The other option is Parker not starving for money. Parker fights for $1 million plus when he steps in the ring, at least his recent purses. And if he perhaps just tells his management, just focus on the biggest purse you can get me, where I can weigh up the risk reward, let's just move on and do that. At least he's not like fighters from a bygone era, didn't get no title shot and didn't have no access to big money fights. I know a lot of people ain't gonna like what I say, because I'm not screaming down, Parker should get a title shot. I'm a bit older than you. After a time, you realise you can't always get what you want. You just have to make the situation the best for you as possible. Joe was a little naive when he said he's not going to fight Tyson, because if you're not going to gun for the top guy with the belt, you're automatically letting your marketability take a hit. And now, even though he's on an impressive run, he can't get a Usyk fight ahead of this kid who's never beat a top 5, top 10 opponent. Perhaps if Joe had fought Tyson Fury, beat Tyson Fury, maybe not even beat Tyson, just give him a really good fight. You got that on your resume. It's unlikely Moses would be higher up in the pecking order before him. Just got to keep it real. And while I'm not going to question whether he and Tyson is cool or not, yeah, Tyson probably said he wouldn't fight Joe either. He's his little brother. I reckon Tyson mugged him off a little. Because if Tyson was in a similar position to Joe, is that what he'd say? No, he'd find an excuse to go at Joe and fight him for the belts. Tyson wouldn't have that.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Technology is arguably the biggest tool of modern day capitalism. 1909, Freddie Welsh beat Johnny Summers over 20 rounds at the National Sporting Club. The first British title fight for the Lonsdale belt. Very significant fight in boxing history. It's arguably the first fight for a championship belt, which is different from the personalised belts that boxers had. Negotiations stalled as they debated who will get to control the betting on the fight and the cinema rights, utilising the technology of cinema to bring extra revenue to the fight. So we go to the 50s. Boxing is being televised. Here's what some British promoters thought of that in the early 60s.
Well, television, I think, actually is the enemy of boxing. I would sooner not televise any boxing at all. My main reason is this, that if, for argument's sake, if you could show a title fight, say, between Henry Cooper and Joe Erskine, people watch that on television. They can see a championship contest for nothing in their house. And then if a small promoter in another town is going to put on the top of the bill, say, a fighter who gets about 80 pounds or 100 pounds of boxing, the people, I don't fancy seeing that, that's not worth seeing.
I, for one, if I had to go to a boxing show on a day like this, and I knew it was going to be on television, I wouldn't go and see it. I'd watch it on television. You can't stop progress. And eventually, I suppose, they'll knock all the promoters out, and they will become promoters.
The common theme amongst British promoters is they thought TV was going to drive them out of boxing. It's hard to believe that this was the train of thought, but the promoters soon caught on. So we're going to stay with the 60s. You've got closed circuit television. Jarvis Astaire, a phenomenal businessman. He was a part of the cartel, Mickey Duff, Mike Barrett, Terry Lawless. He was trying to get boxing on closed circuit TV since 1959. He was well ahead of his time. It wasn't until 1964 when Terry Downs former world middleweight champion from London, got a shot at Willie Pastrano for the light heavyweight title. They couldn't get a venue in London. The fight was held in Manchester on a weekday, as a lot of the big fights were back then. Now, Downs had a considerable fan base, and they wouldn't be able to get to Manchester because of work commitments on a weekday. So Jarvis Astaire managed to pull some strings and get them to put the fight on closed circuit TV, and it was a huge success. Once again, using the technology to take the cartel to the next level. This enabled them to get Muhammad Ali to defend his world heavyweight title twice in the UK on closed circuit TV against Henry Cooper and Brian London. And also, Jarvis ran the closed circuit TV in Germany when Ali fought Carl Mildenberger. You can't get bigger than that. Now, for example, Ali Cooper 2 on closed circuit was not shown in one venue, it was shown in plenty of venues throughout the UK. 40,000 people saw Muhammad Ali versus Henry Cooper 2 on closed circuit TV in 1966. Closed circuit TV is how Bob Arum got in the game when he was an attorney in the Kennedy office, investigating the closed circuit television receipts for the rematch between Sonny Liston and Floyd Patterson, and other alleged wrongdoings from an individual who was appropriately named Roy Conn. They were doing closed circuit boxing events in America about a year or so before we had them over here. Closed circuit TV is what got Ali and Frazier them huge multi-million-dollar purses in their first fight. Then the technology moved to pay-per-view in America. The casino who would host these major boxing events would also negotiate for the pay-per-view rights. This would often attract a huge number of punters to watch the fight on pay-per-view, gamble, spend money on food, drinks. Some people would just head to the arena, watch the fight, come back and gamble some more. Caesar's Palace, 1981. Sugar Ray Leonard versus Thomas Hearns for the undisputed welterweight title. The fight was shown on closed circuit television in 298 locations with 1.5 million seats in the United States and Canada. Pay-per-view was available to 1 million homes in 24 cities in the United States. In 1981, a welterweight, Sugar Ray Leonard, walked away with 11 million. Tommy walked away with around 8.
Big number.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we go to the streaming app, which was ridiculed in America when Eddie Hearn was trying to tell the world this is the way to go, this is the next thing up. Now we no longer have HBO and Showtime, where a lot of these great pay-per-view numbers were amassed. We no longer have them broadcasting in America. The streaming app enables you to watch while you're on the move, on different devices, mobiles, laptop, etc. You can take toilet breaks, snack breaks, pause it, come back. For the die-hard Americans who were saying we don't watch boxing on streaming apps, we watch boxing on television, you can get the DAZN, Netflix, Amazon app on any smart TV. It accommodates the modern way of watching content, and Eddie Hearn was proved to be right. So now, as a boxing fan, where do we go next? Turkey said he's going to get rid of pay-per-view on DAZN. A lot of people are celebrating that. But will they be celebrating after the changes have made?
Okay, we would have seen and heard the noise being made by our mate in Saudi Arabia, Turkey al-Sheikh, about pay-per-view and the abolition of pay-per-view and some of the reaction to it. And it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you kind of wonder how that's going to work. I think he's talking about bundling up subscriptions. You listen to what he said. He talked about A, B, C categories.
Yeah.
He talked about different price points of potential subscriptions with DAZN.
Yeah.
So the idea that he's attacking pay-per-view and taking it away because it doesn't make sense commercially to the numbers that he wants to grow. I think what he's actually saying is, I'm going to get rid of the 29 or 99 price point. I'm going to bundle it up and people can buy 10 pay-per-view fights inside their subscription and pay an extra 150 quid a year for it.
I think there's a bigger problem here. You look at the Alexander Usyk, Joseph Parker situations where Ring and Seller said, we're not involved and we don't want to do this fight. And normally that's fine because you normally then just say, okay, we don't need you, we'll just chuck it on pay-per-view. So both fighters can get paid. Now there is no pay-per-view. It makes a fight Riyadh Season and Seller are not interested in almost unviable. You can't make the fight because you can't chuck it on pay-per-view. I think the subscription price is going to go up. And I agree with you. I do think there will be tiers of subscriptions where you can buy one for £400 a year, which includes everything.
That's my
and then
point.
there's one below that includes 2 or 3, and then there's...
So it's...
You're not going to make everyone happy. Before I continue, let me repeat, not everyone is going to be happy with the outcomes. Okay, Addy was talking you could be paying a subscription for up to £400 and that would ensure you got all the pay-per-views for the year. Sounds great, but I don't want Jake Paul versus Chavez. I didn't pay for it. And if I don't pay the full subscription, there's a good chance I miss out on some very good fights because either I didn't want to pay for the highest tariff or I couldn't afford it. So I won't get access to a lot of fights. One may argue the system we have currently is better, where I can pay for what I want and just discard what I don't want. I bought Dubois Usyk. I think I actually did buy Skull and Canelo. It was a crap card. Times Square card was crap. I didn't pay for Chavez Jake Paul. Paid for Eubank Ben. The Stevenson Cepeda Balanga Shiraz doubleheader. I paid for that. I'll pay for Benavidez versus Yard. But without the promise of pay-per-view upside, it could steady the market a little, where fighters are offered certain fights. The promoters, the broadcasters are telling the fighters, this is what we think the fight is worth. This is what we will pay you if you take the fight. And they either take it or leave it. And Ade, he was saying that a lot of fighters have basically filled their boots with this Saudi money. But now they might have to be thinking about taking fights to a more realistic market value of what the fight's worth and what the fighters can generate. Let's see how much price points are involved if there's change. Basically, you've got to get what caters to your sensibilities and, more importantly, your pocket. It is what it is. We all have to do that. Is anyone relishing paying out £400 worth of subscription? See, what they're going to do, you'll get access to all boxing content for the year, and they're going to add in some extras. Extra shoulder programming and a few perks here and there that the lower price points won't be able to access. DAZN and Matchroom had 3 world title fights on in Japan live, where Taraji lost to Sandoval. Free. But how much people who are going to complain about potential price hikes were interested in them fights? World title fights. And I'm talking free on YouTube. There's a card on nearly every week. Even if you can't buy that top price point or tariff, you're still going to see a whole load of boxing. And this is what I'm saying. Not everyone's going to be happy with their outcome. But we can't put the genie back in the lamp. The consumers and the illegal streamers, they want more and more and more for less, less and less. If they get rid of the pay-per-views and the subscriptions don't go up, the price hikes are inevitable. And if it's not a significant price hike, you're going to see the standards of the undercards looking like that joint Frank Warren did at Wembley the other week. Wasn't the best undercard. I've had illegal streamers debate in my comments section that it's not them who are forcing the price hikes and forcing up the price of the pay-per-view. They're blaming it on the broadcaster and the promoters for being greedy. Would they also argue that there is no shortfall because they're taking the content and not paying for it? Obviously there's a shortfall and somebody's got to foot the bill if the promoters and broadcasters are looking at the metrics for lost revenue from the people who may have purchased the subscription or purchased the pay-per-view if it wasn't available for them to take it for free. I'm not here telling you got to purchase the pay-per-view or purchase subscription. I'm not telling no one that. But you can't justify they're forcing you to take it because it's too expensive. You can't justify that with any rational logic. It's not a necessity. It's not food, clothes and shelter. It's
Boxing.